Hey, Justice League, Justice Warriors, what up? It's Friday. What date is it? Friday, January 5th, 2024. If you're into numerology like I am, it's kind of a cool day because you've got the 1, 2, 4, 5. Anyway, let me straighten out the camera just a tiny bit. All right. No one here yet, but that's okay. I'll just go ahead and get started like I always do. I gave about 3 minutes notice that I was coming on, but at least it let me in this time. Bex, lovely to see you. How's it going? How are you? So yeah, I thought we'd just kind of do a review of the week because it's been a very intense one as far as news with the Savannah Soto case, with the school shooting yesterday in Iowa, and of course with the Jeffrey Epstein crapola. And I'm feeling better each day. Hope you're doing great. That's so nice to hear. I'm doing really well. I'm very grateful for every single thing that I can do. Very grateful for my health and that whole yoga instructor transformation that I'm going through is something I'm very grateful for, even though it is very hard. Nothing's easy. So hello, Michael McAllister. How are you? So yeah, I was gonna say I feel like it's also a very newsworthy event in the land of true crime that Zav girl is kind of getting her mojo back. So um, I was on her panel 2 nights ago, and I believe it was the first time I was ever on her panel. I've almost gone onto her panel a couple of times, last year when all that Kylie Rodney stuff was happening. But there were so many people on her panel. And maybe I did go on it once. And people like chewed me up and spit me out, unless that was just in a chat. Anyway, you know how fun that can be. So, when you're expressing your opinion and you have an opinion, you're going to get criticized. And it's rough, but you don't expect people to agree with you, especially if your idea is something that you just thought of and you haven't really had a chance to process it and bounce it off of other people, because that's what's so helpful. It's like letting things cook or stew or percolate. I'd like to say a gestation period. Um, Someone I knew back in Seattle used to say, "Let me noodle it for a while." I thought that was hilarious. But Mrs. Amir in CB, hello, Justice Warriors. It's been a while. Yeah, so it's been a while here. I mean, I keep doing my lives every day, trying to get back into the swing of it, especially now that I have the luxury of a freaking laptop. That was insane going 2 months on my freaking cell phone. If I knew it was going to be 2 months on my cell phone, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I would have just bought a new computer at the beginning. I was going to say that maybe I wouldn't have done any YouTube uh, creation for a couple of months because that was insane. And I just kept thinking, one more day, maybe 2 more days. Until then, I got used to it. And then it was kind of weird going back to the laptop. So, what a frustration. Anyway, I'm so happy that you guys are here. Thank you for joining me. Let me go over my normal routine stuff. Please make sure you're still subscribed. Share the video if you like it. Turn on your notification bell to ring and hit one of those like buttons, whichever one you prefer. I mean, if you hit your screen, that's not going to work. But don't hit it twice because that doesn't work either. All the videos that I make are for the YouTube platform, and it is an entertainment platform. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of starting a conversation, hoping to open up a discussion, hoping that I'm educational for myself and others. I do try. I try to not be so like ivory tower-ish because I just don't think that's very helpful. I try to just shoot from the hip and be very spontaneous and kind of like improv. A lot of times I have my notes, like when I first started my channel a year and a half ago, about I would have everything written down that I was going to say, but I wouldn't read it to you guys. I would just try to remember it, and I'd look at it maybe to make sure that I touched on all the points. Because if I didn't look at it, there's almost always one that I miss. That's just kind of the nature of it. Um, but it's good that I did that because there were so much technological challenges that many times I would have to re-record because there was no sound or something. For those of you that were here at the beginning, you were so awesome. I was like a brand new YouTuber, and I got to start doing lives, I think, within a month, which was phenomenal. And then I was just in way over my head, and I'd be on mute, and you guys would tell me, and I would just be like, WTF. So hopefully the mic is working well. You can't see it, but I have it right here. It's all black, so it just blends in. Um, I have it plugged in. I think my brain's plugged in. I think the laptop is plugged in. Phone's plugged in, all the lights. We got it going on, people. Um, so you have been great, been a replay crew for some time. Oh, you are so sweet, Mrs. Amir. Thank you kindly for that. I just really enjoy doing this, and it's like one of my very top priorities, right up there with work and family and exercise and drinking water and all that good stuff. It relaxes me, even though I get a little nervous sometimes, and if I'm too tired, it's just not a good idea. But I do find it extremely cool, just interacting with people from all over the world. I mean, you're in South Africa, I believe. Not sure where other folks are. If you want to mention it, you guys are more than welcome. If you don't, that's fine too. Um, it's just really cool, isn't it? I mean, here we are just out in cyberspace, meeting up in real life. But I just kind of wanted to talk in general about the week and about cases and about this whole process. It's so important to me that it is real, that it's not canned, that it's not, you know, pre-planned and rehearsed and that kind of thing. Um, it's just really being spontaneous in the moment, and it's exciting. I mean, I might make a fool of myself sometimes. I might knock over my camera or something. It's fine. I mean, I actually love those couple of videos where I knocked over the camera a few times. It cracked me up, especially that I just left them up. I didn't edit them or anything. I'm just like, you have those days and you just keep pushing forward, right? What are you going to do? Oklahoma girl here. Everything is perfect. Good morning, Sherry. Um, and hello, hello. Let's see, 2027 p.m. for South Africa, meaning like 8:30 at night, and it's 1:30 in the daytime. Like Hawaii is way off too. I mean, it's so far. For those of you that don't know, it's not until I went there the first time that I realized how freaking far it is. Because our country is about 3,000 miles wide from like Washington, D.C. to California, roughly. I mean, I could Google it, right? I have no idea what Google would say, but sometimes they're wrong anyway. Anyway, Hawaii is another 3,000 miles away from the West Coast. So I can't remember the exact time zone, but it's probably like a 6-hour time difference from where I'm at on the Eastern Standard Time here in Ohio. But it is so far. And even when I used to really like to fly, it freaked me out flying over the ocean for 3 hours because that's about a 6-hour flight. And if you crash, you're pretty much toast. I mean, it's kind of that way in an airplane anyway, but you know what I mean. I don't think there's been any like castaways that have survived plane crashes, but maybe, and they just haven't been reported, or maybe I just haven't heard about them. The plane coming out of the sky hitting the ocean is going to be like hitting a brick or a rock or you know, rock hard basically. So it's just the same as on land, but on land you have the possibility of maybe surviving on the land. In the water you would just drown. I mean, I know they have the flotation things and everything, but it's freaky. And it's freaky when you see those movies with plane crashes in them, and the first thing they do if they really think the plane is going to crash is they take your freaking shoes, especially if you have like spiked heels. Anyway, tangent, right? Let's just stay focused. But that whole freaking Maui case has been so heartbreaking. And you know what? While I'm here in front of you guys, I want to Google what they say is the number of fatalities now. I don't know if they've changed it, if it's 99 or 100 or 101 fatalities in Lahaina fire. Um, and I really think that Tracy from Brush Junkie channel has it right when she calls it the Maui Massacre. So confirmed deaths is now at 100. Okay, I'm going to read you what it says. Confirmed deaths 100. The deadly blaze in Lahaina started as brush fires. Again, they said it was going to take 18 months to determine this crap. So that's weird. Okay, in my opinion. And exploded into the town on August 8th, becoming the country's deadliest wildfire in more than 100 years. So unbelievable that they're keeping it at 100. As of November 14th, it says previously 99 people were reported to have died in the fire. Maui police also said Tuesday that there would be no more daily updates. Well, of course, why would you want to keep people informed? Um, that's just creepy. The last victim was a 78-year-old woman who died of injuries sustained in the blaze. So that's not counting like an additional fatality discovered or claimed. That's somebody who died in the hospital, which, we really haven't heard those stories, have we? Or what about the people who haven't died in the hospital but are still in a coma or lost limbs or I mean, can you imagine how much of that we will hear in the future if they're ever allowed to have internet access and communication? It's gross. Um, and this 78-year-old woman, Charlene Rubang of Lahaina, her obituary said she was a great grandmother who died on September 4th of complications from smoke inhalation. So, yeah, we're going to see a lot of that for decades, probably, and all kinds of weird cancers. And if it was some bizarre, direct energy weapon or whatever type of thing started the fire, who knows the types of skin cancer, lung cancer, other organ cancer. I mean, the diseases are going to be probably off the chain from this. I had not thought about that. I thought about the injuries, but I hadn't thought about the diseases. It really is like Chernobyl. You guys have got to watch that HBO special on Chernobyl. It's freaking phenomenal. I think it was a 6-part miniseries. Completely worth every minute. I highly recommend it. And it really applies to Lahaina. It was Eric West who came up with that phrase he coined a week or two ago. Maui Chernobyl, I think is how he phrased it. And I was just like, oh my God, that's pretty much right on the money. So she had been transported to Oahu for medical care. It's unclear why her name was only released on Tuesday, more than 2 months after she died. Oh my goodness. I am so glad I read that part to you guys. What It's unclear why her name was only released on Tuesday, more than 2 months after she passed away. They said the cause of death was just confirmed to being related to the fires within the past few days. Now that's a crock, in my humble opinion. But I guess, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, they had to wait for the autopsy results. But when you do an autopsy, yes, it might take 6 to 12 weeks for the full report to be packaged and ready to be sent out. However, the preliminary autopsy is pretty much done immediately and it's pretty much always accurate. So you can go with that in most cases. And authorities do go with that in most cases. Um, they're just not going to send that out in a public records request, of course. She referred questions. This is the spokesperson, not the victim. She referred questions about further details to the Honolulu medical examiner. Interesting. Why not the Maui medical examiner, since that's the police chief, right? Acting supervising investigator, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, no, I do want to read this. Said by phone that 6 months is the standard amount of time it takes to establish cause of death in cases reviewed by the medical examiner's office. Yeah, 6 months. Screw that 6 weeks, 3 months that I just mentioned. That's pretty much standard across the country, but okay, it's Hawaii. Things might take longer. I know I'm being a little too generous, huh? Previously, 99 people were reported to have died in the fire. Maui police also said Tuesday that there would be no more daily updates on wildfire victim updates. So you are still calling it wildfire victims, even though you don't know what types of fires these were. And I'm telling you, you guys, after watching that Chernobyl miniseries, and from what I know from being on the islands a couple of times, not Maui, but the Big Island twice and Oahu once, they do a lot of um, military, like top secret, high security clearance types of things, like I mentioned the other day, like really men in black types of things. They do that in Hawaii. They do that in Arizona. They do that in Nevada. They do that in Ohio. They do that in a lot of places. But Hawaii is like primo because it's such a unique place. It's such an extreme of many positive things. I mean, the natural wonder, of course, but you've got, like, I want to say the deepest lake in the world is there on the Big Island. You've got a lot of the most extreme things in the world in the Hawaiian Islands. I had mentioned a few days ago how on the Big Island they have at least 3 major observatories, like the best in the world, that are um, still not enough for many people that are trying to build more. And there's resistance to that too, because there's always the cost benefit analysis. Like, yeah, that might be great to have a a Hubble telescope out there on the Big Island, but what type of radiation might that cause? I mean, I'm no freaking rocket scientist. I don't know about these things. You'd have to ask Jack Black's parents. They're both rocket scientists. Anyway, let's stay caught up with you people. You people are the bomb. New Hampshire here, live free or die. Oh, that's awesome, Bex. That is my slogan. The only thing I don't like about the New Hampshire slogan is, don't they have like a snake for their thing, for their little, like, mascot, I guess you might call it. Hello, Bex and Terry. Love you all. Terry Barker, nice to see you. And make sure I said hello to everybody. B redacted messages twice. What's up, B? I don't know if I know you yet. Are you just being shy? So, back to the news of the land of YouTube. So, Zav Girl is really coming back in full force. And she's done a few of these long marathon lives that we all know her so well for, especially from the Kylie Rodney case. And when I was in her live the other night, I had been watching it for, roughly 90 minutes before I got onto the panel. Shan's here. Yay. I know you are a busy woman. Thanks for dropping in, girl. So yeah, you might agree with me on these points that I want to make about Zav Girl's channel, because it's just so nice to see her back. It's so nice to see her, you know, what's a good way to say it? Kind of recuperating from the trauma of being blasted on national mainstream media as well as the streets of YouTube. I can't imagine how horrible that was for her. And I just think it's phenomenal that she's sticking with her channel and that people are giving her another chance. Because I figured everybody that, that she has a lot of loyal fans and that people would want her to come back. But I also thought it might just be too traumatic, really. And so I was honored to be a guest on her panel after I think it was about 90 minutes in. And then I stayed on for, I don't know, an hour or 90 minutes, something like that. And then I dropped down into the chat and then I missed a bunch of it because I fell asleep. I think she went till like freaking 5 in the morning. That girl, I talk about me and my extremes and how I can't let something go. She takes it to the next level. So she said she had gotten like 4 hours of sleep, Shan, in like 3 nights combined. This was on that live the night before last. And Ara was in the panel too. So that was really cool to see Miss Ara over there. And basically just, it's been so long since she's done these long marathon lives that she kind of felt like not that adept at it, and like she had to like kind of condition and train for it, which is totally understandable. I can only imagine Shan. I mean, you do them and you used to do them like they were nothing. Your 10 hours. I remember, when was it? It was like a year ago where you and I were texting and you said, yeah, Squirrels on Fire live all weekend, because you did like a 10 or 11 hour on Friday and then probably like a 9 hour on Saturday and a million hours on Sunday. And I don't think you've done a weekend like that since. And like I said, you made it look easy, but I know that you've scaled way back. And, I can only imagine like T-Rev and a couple other channels that do like 19 hours. Divine Justice, aka Mrs. G, the Honey Badger, she keeps going and going and going and going. And then every time she's wrapping up her live, she's back on again right after. So it is like running a marathon. As you guys know, my lives are usually roughly 90 minutes, give or take a half an hour, usually. But more common is like the 60 minutes, give or take. Anyway, today, just to let you know, we're just at 23 minutes and it'll probably just be for about a 60-minute live, I think, because it's already 1:45 and I got some other stuff I got to get done. It's the end of the week here. So I hope you guys are planning for a lovely weekend. Yeah, so finishing up with my thought about Zav's channel and her getting back into the groove of things. What I wanted to share with you guys is that before I ever YouTubed anything, like I hadn't even YouTubed like how to use a certain vacuum part or something like that. But somebody that I don't even know that well, but somebody that an acquaintance of mine, suggested that I check out YouTube true crime. They just sensed that it would be my jam. And it was their jam. And they told me how cool it was to listen to these marathon lives of Zav's. And I don't think they really followed any other content creators. They were just Zav girl all the way. And she was telling me how it was usually like 4 to 6 hour lives back then. It was the early days, I think maybe when she'd had her channel for like a year. And it was all basically the Watts case, I believe. And this lovely person that was telling me about it, I was just like, a 4 to 6 hour live. Like, how do you do that? Like, I know you work full time. I know you have a child. I know you're married. Like, what? I don't understand. Like, how would that even work in real life? And she was like, oh, it's easy. You just have it playing in the background and you're doing your dishes or whatever it is you need to do. And I was just like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't look into it. I just thought, good for her that she likes that. And, why would she think I would like it? Because she doesn't really know me. Okay, whatever. So it's kind of funny that years later, not only am I a complete true crime aficionado, but big fan of Zav girls too. And even through this tumultuous time that she had a few months ago that really doesn't need to be discussed anymore, I don't think. Um, but it's sort of like fair weather friends. Like, are you going to stick with people when things are tough? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I mean, if you respect somebody, which I do respect her a great deal. I mean, she's done so much for this platform, I think. She's been a front runner, of course, with the Kylie Rodney case and of course with the Watts case, but just her style and her again, the lack of bells and whistles, just her having her feet on the ground, her head on her shoulders, being very frank and honest with her audience. I just don't think there's anything more valuable than that. So let me catch up with you guys because I really love what you have to say. That's as valuable as it gets, too. As good as it gets. How sad that I don't know if it's a snake or what, LOL. Well, I hate snakes, so that's good, I think. Like, I look the other way. I'm like, look away. I'm glad she's back as well. Although she dropped Kylie's case, I'm thankful she put out the data she did. Guess what, squirrels? In listening to the rest of that 7 hour, close 6 to 7 hour live from the night before last, I was reviewing it in the background of my life today while I was doing all the things I needed to do. She spoke a great deal about Kylie Rodney's case at the very end. I still have like 5 or 10 minutes to listen to that very end of it, but I got through most of it, and I was so glad that I did. Like, I just wanted to know what I missed. I really like to review the panels, the videos that I participate in, so that I can just kind of get a fresh perspective and learn from it. Especially when you're on a kind of a big panel with a number of people, just the whole timing and trying to not interrupt, but trying to be able to speak when it's your turn. And I know that's such a challenge, and it's a lot of pressure on the content creator whose channel it is to kind of referee that. But we all have to referee ourselves too. So that's really tricky business. That's one thing I don't envy the people who do the panel discussions. Like, I think it's great and I love it, but it seems like a lot of stress and pressure. But I guess it's all how you approach it. And you know, I try not to be a perfectionist, but I kind of am. So I set the bar high and then I want to keep figuring out how I can make it better. And again, I don't strive for perfection. I just strive for learning. So anyway, Zav said that it keeps her up at night, like thinking like, oh goodness, did I cut that person off? Oh, did they get enough airtime? And I just thought that's kind of cute. Anyway, um, so yeah, I think that maybe we can plant some seeds to get her more back into the Kylie case because she's still as dedicated in her heart, I think, as she always was. I think she just kind of didn't follow everything in the Squirrel Squad land. And, she had all of her other stuff going on in other cases, and that she just kind of got out of touch with it. But what she was talking about specifically was the friend factor. And she was comparing the Savannah Soto and Matthew G case to maybe the frenemies that may or may not have been the cause of Kylie's demise. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly, let's be clear. So, I always like to say, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And, people that are persons of interest or suspects in a case need to be thoroughly vetted, investigated, interrogated. They need to be thoroughly checked, like that their story checks out from many levels, and looking at the metadata, looking at the Ring doorbell cams, and all of the camera footage that you're going to have in this day and age in any case. In San Antonio, somebody said in Zav's chat that they basically have traffic cams at every intersection. So they're going to be able to pretty much watch people go through town, which makes sense, right? I mean, Chicago's like that. Like there's nowhere you can go in Chicago where you're not on a surveillance camera. And still there's a lot of crime because it's still hard to keep up with. Yesterday she slept in and didn't do her panel as planned, but I listened in on her reading the affidavit. Yeah, I was listening in on some of that too. Yeah. The long lives take a toll on my physical health and is why I had to cut back on them. Oh, of course, Shan. I want you to do some yoga, girlfriend. It's the bomb. I mean, not to be preachy, but doesn't need to be yoga. I mean, I know you're smart and you know what you need. But just any stretching, walking your dog, meditating, swimming, anything. I know that you're a very active individual and that you have a lot on your plate. So I'm not trying to preach to you. I just want you to feel good, friend. The white-tailed deer is our designated and official state animal. Oh, Bex, cool. You just looked it up. But yeah, isn't that snake thing usually with the don't? No, that's the don't tread on me. That's the don't tread on me snake. I was getting it confused. Okay. Phew. Okay. I was like, why would my favorite saying need to be paired with a snake of all things? I want to get back into doing daily lives videos, even if they're only 30 minutes long or informative videos short. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my goal right now, is to keep getting back into the groove of things with my 1 hour lives every day, if I can. I don't want to oversaturate my channel. I don't want to oversaturate my audience or myself. I certainly don't want to be yakking on and on about things that aren't very important. So let me try to get to some more nuggets. But let me also keep up with your chat here. She has good lives. Yeah. And it's funny because one of her lives that I was watching before I decided to watch the rest of that one, there was like a lot of lag time. And I was thinking, wow, because she'd been on for 3 hours and she was looking stuff up and she was reading. So there was like no one talking. It was probably the one last night. And maybe it was when it was live and then I had to go to sleep anyway. But I just thought, wow, that's real dedication, especially for the viewers, to just sit and hang out and be patient. And it's great because, yeah, that's real life. There's no need to like fill the air with chatter when you're busy doing other stuff. Just take a chill pill. And if your audience will stick around, that's lovely. I know the streets of YouTube are tough and not a lot will. They're just going to be like, click, next. And that's okay. That's the nature of the beast, right? Like the shorter lives myself. Sherry, you're like one of the only people I've heard say that. I mean, I like the shorter lives myself too, but yeah, it seems like people really like them long. Like when I do my longer lives, they get more views. When it's closer to 2 hours, it's wild. Because yeah, I would think that people would like them closer to 20 minutes, but no, they want like a nice chunk of something to sink their teeth and their brain into for a good solid hour or two, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's a science to it, the algorithm and all that, the analytics. If we're going to dwell on her mistakes, then we need to bring up tend to lives and others. Otherwise, we need to move forward on all accounts. Agreed 100%. Yeah, and I think, the whole thing is to learn from your mistakes, and I think that's been done. So yeah, moving right along. I'd rather be focusing less on the shortcomings of others and focus on cases. There are 61,000 cold cases. That's not funny. In California alone. Oh man, they are number one on the list of unsolved cold cases. Well, that's because I was going to say something really snarky about their setup there with county sheriffs being their coroner and uh, what's the other thing? The administrative administrative manager, city manager. No, that's not it. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. How they have three positions. So the sheriff is the coroner, the sheriff, and some type of administrative executive for the community, right? Like the lead, whatever. If you want to type it into chat, if you know what it is I'm talking about. Um, it's not an administrative assistant, but it's something with administrative in the title. Um, not executive. Anyway, that's just setting up a formula where you're going to have corruption. And when you have corruption, you're going to have a lot of cover ups and you're going to have a lot of cold cases because not that many cover ups get pinned on someone else, like, Dean Gillespie in the Ohio case from back in the late 80s, early 90s that I refer to so often. You don't have that type of thing happen that often. Of course, sometimes law enforcement puts the wrong person behind bars and it's an honest mistake, and that's really scary too. I don't know which is scarier, the honest mistakes or the vindictive, evil. I guess it's that one, right? But I mean, how frightening for all of us to live in a democracy where any of us could be wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted. And you think it's not possible until it happens to you or someone you know, someone in your family or a friend. Um, and what's really telling, I know Dean Gillespie spoke to this and Russ Faria spoke to this. What's really telling is your fair weather friends, the people who know you and know that you didn't do this. Those are your rock solid homies, right? And both of those people, both of those men had that experience where there were many friends and family members that knew damn straight that they didn't do it, right? And then there were people that they thought were their rock solid homies, friends and family that completely turned on them. And a lot of times those relationships are not even repairable. But the flip side of that is when someone is a perpetrator and their friends and family can't believe that they are and refuse to believe that they are. I mean, it's all just nuts, isn't it? One sec. I've got chai tea in there that I haven't been doing a lot of tea lately, and I should. I love tea. Um, so Squirrel Girl Lives have more information. Oh, Terry Barker, you're so cute. Yes, Squirrels on Fire rocks with her panels, and Zav and her panels. I mean, those were the bomb with Upchurch and Captain Kurt Reacts and so many others that would get up on her panels and just rock it. Wasn't that nice? I mean, so much good information would come from those. And yeah, Shan's got quite a knack for it too. I mean, both of you guys are really good at creating that forum, that safe space, and that community, building community. I think it's amazing. The data is most important, Terry. Yes, you got this. I love yoga and meditation. Very cool. I know. See, I do too. But if I'm not going to classes, even though I have everything I need to do it at home, I just don't do it at home. And if I'm like doing this program, it makes me do a lot more of it than I ever would. And I'm grateful for that because I need the structure. I need to push myself. It's awesome. I think I now where that race car is. I'm so confused. It's in Reno. I think I know where that race car is. It's in Reno, like 30 to 90 minutes. So, Terry Barker, which race car are you speaking to? Like something of Jägermeister's or in the Kylie Rodney case or something else? So yeah, Sherry, I agree. I think 30 to 90 minutes, like 60 minutes, give or take, is pretty good. Um, Squirrels said it's the politics of California that creates the corruption and lack of proper investigation. They can't blame it on lack of training anymore. Well, and that's always what they do. I've seen people blame it on lack of training when they've had every training under the sun. Like they get signed up to go to every single training that happens anywhere in the state. And then they say, well, lack of training. Like that's just another excuse. It's pulling the buffoon card. Like instead of saying, well, yeah, we're corrupt, evil MFs, it's like, oh, well, we're just so stupid. We don't know elbow from other part of body. We don't know shinola from that other black tar like stuff. We're just freaking buffoons. Oh no, we're not evil. We're just idiots. And of course, they're going to go with the buffoon card rather than admit to their conspiracies because yeah, if it's corruption, they're conspiring. So yeah, I get so sick of people talking about conspiracy theorists. I heard it on the news this morning with the shooting yesterday and other stuff. I don't even want to get into it because it was mainstream media talking about YouTube true crime and conspiracy theorists and how some people are saying that the shooting at the high school in um, Iowa yesterday was designed to distract from the Jeffrey Epstein lists that are being released. And to me, that sounds 100% absurd. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I mean, that's a pretty wild conspiracy theory. And I think that that's what the newscast was intending to do was to make all of these people on YouTube look like crazy whack job conspiracy theorists that just come up with these wild ideas when anything happens. Like, oh, it's all planned, it's all a distraction. And my point is that having a healthy amount of skepticism of things that occur and having a very healthy amount of skepticism with your government officials is essential in a democracy. You're not going to have a democracy if you're not allowing people to be skeptical. It's that easy. I mean, you look at countries where they don't allow that, where you're going to be taken out back and relieved of your misery for that. And those are communist countries. So it has to be tolerated for people to be skeptical. And it's healthy to be skeptical. If you're too gullible, like again, going back to that Pam Hupp story, she coerced someone to go to her house with her and she shot him in her house. And before she did that, she coerced someone else to get into her car with her to go to her house. But the person demanded to get out of the car and be taken home before they got to her house. So that person not only escaped possible death or, a really bad incident at the very least, she went home, she called the police. The police were just like, "What? Some lady was tricking you into getting into her car? Well, you sound weird." And this woman was like really serious and she went to the trial because she knew that she could have been one of Pam Hupp's victims. And what's so cool about her skepticism, her healthy amount of skepticism, and her trusting her instinct and her, you know, not worrying if she offended this whack job or whatever, she got herself out of a very close call. And now she's engaged to Russ Faria. Like they put that in at the end of the mini series, but it's pretty cute. Like she went and spoke to him at uh one of the uh one of the hearings or one of the days of the trial, the testimony. And the first thing she said to him, she walked up to him just to say to him, I hope that you can find happiness again. And then lo and behold, here they are years later finding happiness together. So that's really, I think, a beautiful thing. And it probably wasn't until just a few years ago that they had that conversation. She is still not charged or processed. I think she's been charged with unaliving Betsy Faria. I think the charges came down the pike 2 years ago, but it hasn't played out. She's serving a 90-year prison sentence. She's being charged with Betsy's unaliving. She's simultaneously being charged with the unaliving of her own mother that was ruled an accident initially. And I don't know if there's any others that she's being charged with, but there was certainly at least one prior to Betsy Faria down in Florida. Um, Seems like it was an older woman that she quote unquote cared for, knowing that this person had a lot of money and nobody to leave anything in her will, which was the MO of Pam Hupp. I'm trying to think if there was anybody after her mother and the young man that she's serving the 90, I think it's a 90-year, it's a life sentence. Anyway, with the Betsy Faria, before I move on to reading up the rest of your chat, um, she is the prosecuting attorney is going with the death penalty, which I think is fantastic. Like, yeah. Anyway, here we go. And there is a race shop in Reno. A race shop. Interesting. Ninja Chihuahua. Hello, hello. Good morning. Lurker here. Thanks for coming in and lurking. I'm honored. Same by a race car. I am in the car word. I think you meant world. Um, yeah. I watched one of your most recent drops just yesterday, I think, Ninja. Thank you so much for keeping them coming. They are awesome. You're awesome. So I'm thinking of starting to wind down already. We're just coming up to 50 minutes, but like I said, I do have a lot more that I need to get done before the end of the day here. And let's talk for a few more minutes about the Matthew and Savannah Fabian case, because I think there still are some questions. And it was also really interesting this morning to be reviewing Zab's live from the night before last, which was, or maybe it was even the night before that. It was the day before they made the arrests. So yeah, the arrests were the night before last. So it was from the night before that. So confusing. So today's Friday. Yesterday was Thursday. Wednesday night were the arrests. So the live is the Tuesday night live of Zab's that I put the link to it in my live from the day before yesterday. Anyway, I wanted to just touch on a couple of issues that I don't know if it's been hashed out. I don't think it has, but I haven't been able to pay a lot of attention while I've been working and catching up on my Zav. Um, the torture that is suspected with Matthew, like, it's so unthinkable. I mean, perhaps the torture was them harming his unborn baby and his pregnant girlfriend. Um, but perhaps it was dragging him when he was still, uh, before he was unalived. They mention that he was drugged, and they don't mention if that was like drugged by a car or drug, just in the moving of his remains. It's just so freaking hideous. But there's also a lot of talk about, is there a third person in the pickup truck, which it seems very likely that there is. And I think it was Paula Plunder. I did catch her very recent one, looking at maybe the third person in the truck was basically snitched on the killers, the unalivers. So maybe they were granted immunity. I don't know. If you guys know anything about it or have any thoughts, speak now or forever hold your truth. Same, gotta prep fee for the funeral. Oh, I'm so sorry, Shan. Thank you for mentioning that. Oh, let's all pray for Fee and the family, his grandmother on his other side that passed a week ago. That is really hard. And she was only like 67, wasn't it, that you said? Or something like that, not very old. Phew, yeah, what a Friday, huh? That's no fun. I mean, it is nice to see people at funerals. They're sort of like reunions of sorts, but they're very sad reunions, of course. Both now have charges against the corpses. I want to know who tosses the towel in the truck. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it seems like the son, the 19-year-old, was the one who shot both of them, and then the father moved them. And like, what kind of parent does that? Are you freaking kidding me? And then when the police came to his door to arrest them, he was just like, "Oh yeah, you want my son? He's in the other room," before they even said why they were there. That was from the Paula Plunder video too. I mean, it was just like crazy that he did these things for his son, and then he just like, serves his son up on a silver platter to them. Maybe not realizing, maybe he's just not that sharp and he didn't realize that what he did is going to carry like close to the same penalties, I would think. Even if all he did was move them. I mean, that's insane. That is insane. I hope he didn't do anything else to them. I sure hope. I mean, the whole thing is just so disgusting. It's so freaking sad. And the more you look at the photographs of Savannah and just look at what an adorable little cherub of a pregnant female she was, and then just thinking how cute that little baby was going to be. How freaking cute. Unbelievable. And the parents, the friends, all of them like thinking they're going to have this Christmas miracle baby. And then it's absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. San Antonio PD said they are looking at the surveillance more to possibly identify a third individual. Nice, Shan. Thank you. Well, yeah, because you want all of the dangerous people locked up. That's why you don't want to pin the charges on a patsy, because then you still have the dangerous criminals free doing whatever the F they want and getting all pumped up on feeling like they're superhuman because they got away with red rum, right? Mimi Trina was only 61. Thanks, squirrels, for answering that question. That is so young. That is so scary. Oh, they did another presser? So was that just to distract from the Jeffrey Epstein list? I mean, sorry to put a joke in there, but it's, I think, sometimes essential to keep it light. They did another presser like an hour or so ago. Very cool. Yeah, we're so sorry, Shan. Give Fee all of our love, and I'm sure you will. So the presser was just about 2 hours ago. I will catch up with that as we are wrapping up here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And I am pretty sure I'm not going to be able to do any videos over the weekend, but you never know. I'll just look forward to seeing you on Monday, and maybe I'll pop into a live panel if the opportunity arises and it works out. I pretty much stick with Ara, Shan, Zav. I have been on Kelly What's the Obsession, which I love Kelly, but I don't think it's a good idea for us to discuss the Idaho 4 because she's got a completely different spin on it. And It's just we had a couple of run-ins anyway, and that's okay. It's really important to me to agree to disagree and just give it space, give it time. Um, and to keep an open mind that any of us can be right, any of us can be wrong. It's okay, but certainly not to take things personally. It's easy to get into little tiffs with people about things when you're very passionate, and that's okay. That's part of having a discussion, part of having a debate. It's not for the faint of heart, right, Shan? We know, we've been through it. I've been trying so hard to read that Epstein lit, but the pencil is rough on the eyes. The list. Prayers to you and your family. Man, it's really bugging me, that thing about the administrative, whatever the sheriff is in California. I'm going to look that up. Sheriff in California. The coroner. And I'm not finding it. I thought it would come right up. You guys, help me out here. It just drives me nuts when I can't remember a simple word like that. Administrative, maybe if I do sheriff in California, coroner, administrative. I bet that'll do it. Public administrator, coroner, public administrator, and sheriff. Oh, I'm so glad. Those brain farts are just the worst, aren't they? Public administrator. So yeah, the whole thing with lending itself to the corruption. I mean, like, why on earth would you do that? That's such a conflict of interest. That's like having your police chief's wife be in charge of the city's finances and all the public records requests. Moscow. So on that, let's wrap her up. Yeah, let's county executive officer. Good guess. Really good guess. So coroner, public administrator, and sheriff. Yeah. And then I mean, that's probably just another word for it, right? And then in Maui, it's actually against their law to have the sheriff and the coroner be one and the same person. But for some reason, that law is being waived in the case of Pelletier, which is insane, especially when you look at what's going on. Like, and then what's going on with bringing the numbers down of the fatalities and then taking 2 months to announce. They just didn't want to have their number climb to 100 because 100 is the same number as that horrible fire at the station in Rhode Island 20 years ago. I think the band was Great White when they had the pyrotechnic fire. So that's like the greatest fire tragedy of the last 100 years, roughly, second only to the Twin Towers terrorist attack. And now their number is tied neck and neck with that. So they're never going to let it go to 101 because then they'll be in the lead. Like, they fought like hell to try to keep it at 99. I'm sure they were trying to keep dropping it lower and lower. Yeah, we keep consolidating all these freaking body bags. We keep finding out that what we thought were people were actually aliens and such. So yeah, they don't count. Unbelievable. Okay. I love you, Grips, for what you do. That's so nice, Terry. I don't know what you mean by grip, but that's funny. If that was a typo or if that's what you meant. Oh, Jaded Warehouse, thanks for coming in. Be on the replay crew if you like, of course. That's a wrap. LOL. Much love and many blessings to all. It's against the law in many states. It's just like the town of Truckee tries to keep their murder count at 0. Yeah, I mean, a lot of cities and towns do that. Hospitals do that, Shan. Let me tell you guys quickly, if you don't know what an LTAC is, don't ever allow anybody that you care about to go to a long-term care treatment facility. LTAC, TAC, long-term acute care. That's what it is. Long-term acute care. So they say that it's like a you know, if you need long-term hospitalization instead of staying at the regular hospital, you might as well go to the LTAC. What they really mean is that you might as well just die at this other place because they don't want you on their hospital stat. So a lot of these large hospitals that are actually teaching hospitals have a 0 fatality rate because they have loopholes. It's actually why they invented LTACs, was to keep their hospital fatality rate at 0. So anybody that doesn't make it, all they have to do is start processing the paperwork that they were about to send them to the LTAC. And it's almost like hospice. It's not something. The other thing that's really creepy about LTACs, they've only been in existence for maybe 10 or 12 years, I think, anyway, here in Ohio. But you can be in a hospital speaking with a physician or a nurse like a block away from an LTAC, and that nurse or doctor maybe has never heard of one. Like, that's how freaking sketchy they are. So if anybody ever mentions LTAC to you, steer clear. It's how the hospitals keep a death rate of 0, even as teaching hospitals. But basically, it's just a freaking scam. And then we don't even want to get into the whole chop shop crap. If you have that organ donor release signed, or if you're going to a rehab center and you have an organ donor release, that's a really scary predicament to be in. On that, you guys, let's do the peace out. Have a good weekend. We're just over an hour now. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I love you. Sending you light, sending you love, and just be well, be you. Let's all pray for Fee and Shan and the family. I know it's the other side of the family, but still, I know that it's also probably going to be stressful for you going to this reunion of sorts, right? So love you lots, and thanks a million, and happy new year. See you soon.